Bob, will you post? It's on the website, but will you go ahead and post it, the link on Facebook right now? Did you catch that, Bob? Bob, did you copy that?
Did I?
You did it. All right.
It's. What do you need?
I just wanted you to just recopy the YouTube live link and post it on Facebook now that we're going live. It's on the website,
Yeah,
but
I'll do that. I'll do that right now.
while we get started, might as well go ahead and do it one more time. And Mayor, we are going live, so whenever you're ready, sir.
We are always ready. We are 2 minutes past time, so if we're ready to begin the agenda, is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So Donica, please have a roll call. Or Tiffany,
Yes, Donna. Mayor Baker,
here.
Member Volter,
Here.
Member Neary,
Here.
Member Baszler,
Here.
Member Cornett,
Here.
Member Burns,
Here.
Member Lynn,
Here.
City Administrator Giffen,
Here.
City Attorney Edge.
Here.
Great. We have a full roll call. We know we love that when that happens. So now if we could please have a moment of silence and we'll move to a pledge of allegiance. I have a flag behind me over to my left. We could use that for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag.
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for justice for all. Thank you guys very much. For the mayor's report this week, I want to let everybody know that we are very excited that we have a new police chief. We went through a lot of different resumes over the last few months, 16 resumes that we went through. I had some interviews with folks, and we are very happy to welcome back Chief David Halfhill to Dayton Police Department. So Chief Halfhill is going to lead our force moving forward, and we're excited to see him work with our force. Second of all, we have a new flag for the city of Dayton, Kentucky. Bob, I believe you have a copy of that.
Hold on. Yeah. I just lost share screen. I just lost.
That's okay.
All right. I'll put up a second.
Sure.
Why can't I see this? Ah, here it is. Got it. Oh, I can't screen share. I'll send it to Michael.
Okay.
Michael.
Well, we have a new flag that's going to be displayed in the spring month of 2021, and excited to have that out there. We really appreciate Mr. Adu for putting together a great flag for us to celebrate our city. And lastly, that I have on the mayor's report is we have new automated mile per hour signage on the avenue. So you'll be able to see how fast you're going through the city. What this is going to help do is slow down speeders and give us some better data as far as how fast are people going through our city, and see where we can better enforce that. So that's all I have for the mayor's report for this month. So moving along to the approval of minutes from 10/8/2020 for the council meeting and the public hearings. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes from 10/8?
I'll make that motion.
Motion's been made by member Cornett,
Second.
second by member Burns. Any comments? All in favor?
Mayor, may I go back a step before we go further?
Yes, sir.
I know it's in this troubling times, it's hard to get everybody on virtual, but I suggest to you, whenever possible, that the citizens could meet the new code enforcement personnel. I know it's hard to do at this time, but they really need to meet her and see what she looks like and see what the vehicle she's running around in. So I personally have seen her and I know her, but I think some other citizens haven't seen her. So if possible, when you get a chance, get her on one of these virtual things if possible.
Sure thing, Bill. Her name's Cassie Patterson. We welcomed her into
Right.
Dayton's employment last month, I believe in October.
Right.
And she's been doing a very good job as far as making sure that people are keeping up to code. But if anybody wants a chance to meet Cassie, they're more than welcome to do so here at City Building. Just schedule a meeting with her. Yeah, you're right, Bill. So is there anything else to add to the approval of the minutes from the October 8th, 2020 minutes? Nope. All right, so can I have a motion? And we've already had that from member Cornett and a second from Mr. Burns. Do we have a roll call, please?
Member Neary,
Aye.
member Baszler,
Aye.
member Cornett,
Aye.
member Burns,
Aye.
member Lynn,
Aye.
member Volter.
Aye.
The ayes have it unanimously. So we'll move on to the ordinances orders of this month. So the second reading of 2020 number 13, the adoption of the City of Dayton Comprehensive Plan.
City of Dayton, Kentucky, ordinance number 2020, number 13. An ordinance amending, updating, and adopting the City of Dayton's comprehensive plan. Second reading.
That was a second reading. Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make
So
that
moved.
motion. Or I'll second.
So the first was made by member Volter with the second by member Neary.
All right.
Do we have any comments?
When did this process start, Michael? 4 years ago?
No, not quite. It feels like 4 years, but it was about a little over 2 years ago. Now remember, we've been done with it for, the better part of a year. Would have been on in the springtime, but we held off because of COVID. Needed to have a public hearing on the matter. Had to go back to planning and zoning as a formality to get them to vote on it. So there's a couple things that delayed it this year. So it's been done for a little less than a year, but it feels like a long process.
Well, the reason for my question is this has to be done every 5 years. Does this restart a 5-year cycle as of this point? Or do we have to start it again in 2 years or so?
No, this would start a new 5-year cycle. So 5 years from this adoption is when, leading up to that 5th year is when we should start to take a look at it again.
All right, thanks for clarifying.
Thank you, member Neary. Any other comments?
What is the plan with this plan? What are we gonna be doing with it? Or is this just something that's kind of like we present to other people on the website, or how is this going to be implemented?
So it's obviously available on the website, and you all have a copy too, but it's basically a game plan to help the administration and the elected officials as they formulate action plans and policy going forward. An example of that would be, it was discussed quite a bit during that process to look at the industrial zone on the east end of town. So that's something that we've already gotten a head start on, and I've had some conversations with the planning and zoning department about. So I think you'll see some movement on that come January, February, because we've already gotten that ball rolling. But I encourage everybody to go back and take a look at the document, because it is a reflection of the community and the elected officials in the administration. So as you all move into, as most of you move into your next term, and the new council members coming on, it's a document there to help guide you all in terms of policy and goals and objectives for the community. So I hope it doesn't just sit on the shelf. I hope it doesn't just sit on the website. It's meant for all of us to use, because it's a reflection of the community's desires.
Thank you, Mr. Given. Any other comments?
I'd just like to make note moving forward, maybe for the next plan, that we add something about historical preservation, and that's important to the city and able to kind of keep our small town feel and hopefully save more historic buildings instead of tearing them down. But that's just a suggestion.
I agree.
Thank you, Mr. Baszler and Ms. Cornett, for your comments on that. Any other comments? All right, so we'll go through a roll call vote for acceptance of the approval for the 2020-13, number 13.
Member Baszler,
Aye.
Member Cornett,
Aye.
Member Burns,
Aye.
Member Lynn,
Aye.
Member Volter,
Jeff, you're muted.
Aye.
Member Neary.
Aye.
All in favor? Well done. We move on to the second reading of number 2020, number 14, setting forth the compensation and number of authorized positions.
City of Dayton, Kentucky, ordinance number 2020, number 14. An ordinance amending ordinance 2020, number 8, setting forth compensation and number of authorized position for employees under the Dayton Job Classification System. This changes the police lieutenant, the top of the range. It goes from 65,000 to 72,000. And it also takes away a neighborhood project coordinator. That's no longer in the ordinance. Those are the only two changes. And second reading.
Thank you, Ms. Ledger. With those two readings in place, do we have a motion to accept 2020, number 14?
I'll make the motion.
Member Lynn made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second made by Member Volter. Do you have any comments?
Mayor, I do. I've got a couple comments.
Yes, sir.
As I look at this and see the position of police lieutenant and the substantial raise that person got, that's fine. But then I look right above that, and I always look for incentives for employees to get better. And we don't have a police captain, but that position, the lieutenant currently will be making more than the captain would. This person is position, and been in your position at your job, you want to better yourself. You want to get to the next level. And so this lieutenant position, it has no place to get better. You need to look at that. And then I want to go down to the position of crew leader. And I know we've talked about hiring a crew leader. I want to know if you're going to hire this crew leader from within the department Or better yet, when are you going to hire this position? Because it's been stated by several councilmen that we need to maintain and retain and pay our good personnel, good workers. So when are you thinking about hiring this crew leader position?
So, Mr. Burns, we always want to hire within. Always, always, always want to hire within and promote people who have been giving Dayton their sweat and brow. And we appreciate those people who do that.
I agree.
And that's never going to change as long as I'm in this seat. I lean on my my department heads as where we move towards that motion. So when we will do that, and we're looking forward to doing that, but as soon as we have a capability to do that, and if you look at the budget, Mr. Burns, right now it's not necessarily the best time to do that. But when the opportunity is there, we will promote from within as long as they are the best candidates.
I don't want to differ with you, Ben, but you just gave an employee a $7,000 raise. Don't tell me we don't have the money in the budget to give the crew leader a position. You just hired somebody, and that crew leader position could help your superintendent. Because eventually that superintendent may retire, unfortunately could get hurt, unfortunately could win the lottery, and they be gone. And then you have nothing.
The raise was actually raised to the police lieutenant. I think you're talking about two different departments, sir.
I agree with you, Ben. You just told me that we don't have the money, but you just gave the lieutenant a $7,000 raise.
You're talking about two different departments, Bill.
I agree. It's all the same budget, isn't it?
Well, if I may, I think to clarify it, we could promote somebody from within to that crew leader position. The problem is the intention of that position is for a crew leader to supervise more than one person. So
You just hired another person. You got two people now.
we hire a seasonal employee. He'll
Seasonal.
only be working for a little bit longer. In order for us, if we were to fill that position, the objection would be to have two or more laborers under that position. And what the mayor's alluding to is we don't have that in the budget for $60,000 when you include salary and benefits. It's just not in there right now. It doesn't make sense to hire anybody to a crew leader position to supervise one person. You know, we need a crew as the label intends. So just wanted to clarify that. Maybe that'll help.
Well, I think that might be part of the solution too, is that we need to increase the public works staff in general. Just, well, for one thing, we're not getting the prison workers anymore. So that's a huge detriment to our city. We just keep adding more and more responsibilities to this group and trying to maintain under 2.5 people with a superintendent. They're now pretty much doing Sergeant Park. They just have more responsibilities and less people working for them. And I think that what we need to do is not only get a crew leader, is increase the crew, period.
And we've been trying to do that, Member Cornett. And I think we've done a decent job of that with the addition of Mr. Robbins. And we are trying to juggle both those things of our budget and where we can fit that in that budget.
Well, we just got that check for COVID relief, which in my opinion could go towards the public works, because we're not getting the workers from the Campbell County Detention Center, and that's part of COVID relief. I mean, that's something to consider.
Certainly, it's something to consider. It's not quite that easy. What the challenge that we have in front of us, and this was the challenge that we had going into last budget season, is the CARES Act money we got. It certainly helps, but what it does is it just buys us a year or two, because the same problem still exists. Is we need to figure out how to plug the hole in the budget. That's what we were talking about almost a year from now. And it's what we're going to be talking about here in just a couple months. So what the mayor's alluding to is it's a juggling act. We all agree. I agree. I'd love to have another employee or two or more in the Public Works Department. But if you just look at it from a numbers perspective, where are we going to get $60,000? Adding $60,000 onto a budget, what that means, we're not even, with what we did with the taxes and the new revenue on the riverfront, we're not even bringing in $60,000 with that new revenue. So if you just look at those two things, if you hired a Public Works employee and you accounted for the new revenue, the hole just got bigger because the cost for employee, unfortunately, is more than the new revenue we're bringing in. So I don't think anybody disagrees.
Isn't the revenue going to continue to increase yearly?
Hopefully.
Well, we hope
just
so, but it's
from new revenue behind the floor.
well. You don't know. It's not necessarily the case. I mean, we need the momentum to continue on the riverfront. But in order for you to continue to lower taxes or keep taxes constant, that might not always be the case. In order for us to bring in new revenue next year, that may mean taxes going up. And I don't know if that's something, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but there's just a lot of variables in play. It's just not as simple as we're going to go out and hire a Public Works employee. We all agree it's needed. But it becomes a dollars and cents thing. And we've got some challenges ahead on the budget because it's not just as simple as adding a new employee that ends up, we don't have the new revenue coming in to even cover that.
Right. Well,
So-
for the budget committee, I wouldn't mind taking a look at things and having a meeting to talk about it because I think it's.
Yeah, I opened that conversation. I definitely want to consider it. I don't want to say it's not something we consider. I think we do need to consider it. I think they are taxed, the Public Works Department, but it isn't just quite as simple as it sounds to just go out and hire a new employee.
I get it.
Well, let's do this. That crew leader position, let's take it off the board then and don't even leave it in this ordinance.
That's fine with me. I
You're telling.
I relent the day that I put it in there. It just seems like it's caused more headache than anything. The intention was to put that in there so that in the future, the mayor would have options if we were looking to add new employees, and we can bring somebody in with experience that was in between the superintendent position and the laborer. It wasn't intended. I didn't propose that to hire somebody right out of the gate. It was put in there for the future to give the mayor options down the road. But I regret putting it in there because it's caused nothing but headaches and I think confusion over the years. So if that's what you all want to do, I'd be more than happy to take it out for the time being.
Bill, from past experience working at the bank, you don't ever remove a position that you can have at one point in time if something becomes available, if funds become available. You never delete a position.
Is there a reason that the one labor is 3 days a week? Is that something that they want, or is that something that we have that we could expand on to maybe make that full time possibly as a compromise with trying to increase our?
Are you talking about the seasonal employee that we have right now?
Well, I'm looking on my sheet and it says labor 23 hours a week. And then it says seasonal labor 4/1 to 10/31. So I'm assuming those are two different positions. So what I'm asking is, as a compromise to get our workers some help, is it possible to increase that labor position from 3 days a week to 5?
I see
Jeff,
what you're saying.
right now, the labor 23 hours is set at 0 authorized spots. So we actually don't have a position for that, but we do have 2 listed as seasonal laborers, and then 3 positions for just laborers on the full-time positions on the line above that.
Right.
This just sets what the mayor's authorized to hire. Now, as to what employees are coming and going, that's a little bit, it's always a moving target a little bit. So you want to give him enough leeway to be able to do what he needs, but you want to make sure that you are keeping some kind of limitations on it.
So what I'm seeing is we have a superintendent and we have 3 full-time laborers and we have 2 seasonal. Is that correct?
We don't have them. Those positions are established, but they're not all.
We don't have
filled.
those. So what do we have exactly, Mike?
So we have 2 full-time laborers. There's authorized 3. So technically, if the mayor could find it in the budget, he could go out and hire a 3rd laborer without council approval. If he wanted to hire 2 more, he would need to come back and amend that to show 4.
But he could hire a full-time.
I'm sorry, Jeff, and we do also have, the seasonal. There's 1 seasonal laborer, 2 authorized, but we have 1. So we have
1.
3 full-time employees and 1 seasonal right now for a total of 4 bodies currently at the moment.
Well, what is the possibility of taking that 1 seasonal and making them full-time?
Well, you can, and that's something that the mayor and I have discussed. Again, it just comes down to, if you're going to hire him full-time, then it doesn't just become, his hourly rate. It becomes $20,000 in benefits and, in health insurance, and it adds up to, $50,000, $60,000 a year. That's what we're alluding to, is we would love to make him a full-time employee, I believe, or offer it to somebody. It's the total
I
cost.
understand, but I'm kind of leaning with Bill and Tammy on this. I think our people are stretched to the max. If there's some way that we can make it work, maybe we need to look at expanding that position. That's all I'm saying.
Well, no,
They are.
Take a look.
you have to amend.
Mike
you
and I
have
have
to
been
amend
trying
the
to do
budget.
that.
Yeah, there's no money in the current budget to hire a new full-time employee in that department. So you all would have to amend the budget.
Where was the money to give the other position a $7,000 raise? Was that in the budget?
Well, we were able to find that within the police budget, yeah. But finding 7 is a lot easier than finding 50.
How did you find that money in the police budget?
And Bill,
They
he
have a
also
lot,
went,
they have
he
a lot
also
more
went
line
from
items.
lieutenant to assistant chief. I mean, does a gentleman who does that type of work not deserve a raise? Or do you want to keep him?
I don't have a problem with that, Ben.
We
But
found
you
it.
both keep on telling me. You both keep on telling me the money. What was the money in the budget for it?
We were able to find the money in the police budget.
Where did you
For that.
Where did you find that money at?
2 different budgets, Bill.
Bill, they have different budgets,
Huh?
different line items. So there were other line items that we knew that we could get the money from. It's different from budget to budget, and it's easier to find 7 than it is to find $40,000 or $50,000. It's, you're talking about 2 totally different animals here.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but how long were we without the police chief position being filled?
For several months, and that would be a good
Right.
example of. you
And that
save
was
on
already
salary.
built into the, right, that was already built into the payroll, so that's where that, and it
Correct.
wasn't just the pay for the police chief, it was also his benefits, which I'm sure added up to much more than $7,000. So it was, this 7,000 was already in that line item for payroll, correct? Under the police department.
That's correct.
For the budget, yeah.
Thank you.
Am I under the understanding that when Chief Hatfield retired, and I know I am, that the city saved a substantial amount of money because we don't have to pay into his retirement anymore? And is that where you found the money?
No.
No, I think Councilman Neary made the best point, is that we had his full salary built into the budget. Okay. And he wasn't here for 2 months of that. So for 2 months, we had his salary built in and we weren't paying him. So that's a good example of where we would have found some money to shift somewhere else. I'm just using that as the best case example. There's other examples of that. We've had other officers leave in the last couple of weeks. So we've had 2 or 3 positions that weren't paid for a couple of weeks. Those add up to several thousands of dollars when you include CERS and benefits. And I think that's what Joe was alluding to. That's what I'm trying to say, is that we're able to move some things around because of available funds. Public Works doesn't necessarily have that luxury, and it's a lot more money than just $7,000. So it's just not as simple to go find $30,000. But if I'm looking for 5 or 7, it's a little bit easier. I'm just trying to give you an example of why it's different.
Okay, Michael, so did we still save 35,000 by hiring Chief back because we don't have to pay benefits? So do we still have that $35,000 savings?
We save health benefits, which is about $20,000.
Not retirement benefits?
Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't we still pay into, wouldn't Dave still pay into CRS or no? It's different
No,
from
he
different
doesn't.
retirees.
We don't pay
He
any.
does not? Okay.
He doesn't pay, but we're not off the hook is the problem. Is the city's
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. We're
Yeah.
still paying in for him.
No, we don't
So-
have to pay in. We do not have to pay in for Dave.
We don't at all?
No, there was
Okay.
changes made. It used to be that we still had to pay our portion, but with the changes made years ago, we don't have to pay any portion at all.
So yeah, then there's a substantial amount of money we save through
$30,000.
CPR.
So my question then, I guess, is that savings then stay within the police department or does it go into the general fund?
Well, right now it's just within the police department because that budget hasn't really changed, but it'll reflect in savings as the year goes on at the end of the year.
On
Unless you amend the budget.
on the subject of the public works staffing, I agree, especially with no volunteers from the county jail. And I think that's going to go on for quite some time. I agree that the people we have on board right now are working really, really hard. I think what we need to do is moving forward past this. I think we all need to, the current council and even the 2 new council members coming in, before we get into May and June, when the budget is almost done, I would like to see meetings starting early with administration, with all of the council members, not just the 2 or 3 members of the finance committee, to really hash these things out beforehand. Not to kick the can down the road. I mean, we can always come back next month or in January and add a position or add a pay raise or whatever. But I think moving forward, we need to get everybody's input on it before we have to make this kind of discussion online.
Well heard.
I'm going to go ahead and chime in just a little bit, since we're kind of a little bit off the rails, but in the same vein, I would like to suggest possibly reaching out to Public Works to see if there's any other tools that they could have at their disposal that would make a crew of less people more effective. Councilwoman Coronet shared with me how the Public Works is currently picking up all the leaves using a rake and a garbage can, where an investment into a leaf sucker or some other equipment that wouldn't be an ongoing cost to us would make them a more effective team. So I would look forward to having more open conversations with Public Works, trying to make sure that we have all of their needs if we can't provide them the manpower. That's all.
And I think Scott looked into a price cost for that, and it's really not that much in the scheme of things. I mean, if you take how many hours a day that they're picking up leaves and do it for, it would pay for itself in a couple years, 2 years.
And you might even be able to use that to clean the streets too. So
Exactly. Because Mr. Stark isn't doing a very good job.
roll call.
Thanks, Scott. Well, do we have any other comments concerning number 2020, number 14? So we had a motion by Mr. Lynn and a second by member Volter. Comments are closing in 1, 2. Joe,
No.
you look like you wanted to say something.
No, I was kidding.
All right, 3 and 4. So can I please have a roll call, Ms. Ledger?
Member Cornett,
Aye.
Member Burns,
No,
Member Lynn,
Aye.
Member Volter,
Aye.
Member Neary,
Aye.
Member Baszler.
Aye.
5-1. So we'll now move along to the first reading of number 2020, number 15, the amending of the regulations for the issuance of temporary permits for dumpsters and portable storage units.
City of Dayton, Kentucky, ordinance number 2020, number 15. An ordinance amending regulations for the issuance of temporary permits for dumpsters and portable storage units. And that's just the first reading.
First reading. Thank you very much, Ms. Ledger.
I was wondering if you could break that down for the audience, just so they know what that's supposed to mean.
Ms. Ledger?
Yes. It looks like one of the changes made was we used to have a $75 permit. You would come in, fill an application, pay $75. And once the area was cleaned up and the dumpster was gone, then you'd be refunded. But now that has changed. There's just a permanent $20 fee.
Basically, the idea, Member Baszler, is trying to promote rehab in the city of Dayton. So we're trying to make it less money to do a rehab project.
I know we're not supposed to ask questions about this, but Scott asked a question. My only question is, it says in here somewhere that you're not allowed to put a portable unit on private property. We're telling people they can't put something in a private driveway or private yard?
I think it says you can, but you have to get a permit, just like if it was going on the street.
Yeah, I don't think it restricts
Yeah.
you from doing that though.
Yeah, it says no person shall place a dumpster or other receptacle for demolition or construction debris in or on any yard, street, or sidewalk until he or she submits an application to obtain a permit from the code enforcement department. So you
So
can
what
do
you're
it.
saying, if I have a private driveway and I put a dumpster on my private driveway, I still have to buy a permit.
Yep.
Okay.
And that was the first reading. Moving along to the orders. Order number 2020, number 12R as in Romeo, declaring the city-owned property as surplus, property consisting of a vacant lot commonly located at 117 4th Avenue.
City of Dayton, Kentucky Municipal Order Number 2020-12R, a municipal order declaring city-owned real property as surplus and authorizing the mayor to dispose of real property consisting of a vacant lot commonly located at 117 4th Avenue.
Thank you, Donna. Do we have a motion to accept number 2020, number 12 Romeo?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Member Cornett. Do I have a second?
I'll second it for the point of discussion.
Member Neary's made the second for the point of discussion. So we are now moving on to the comments. Member Neary, I imagine you have some comments.
Yeah, as you know, and Mr. Giffen knows, I'm pretty adamant about trying to get rid of these vacant city-owned lots in the city that, Public Works is having to maintain them. We're not getting any tax value out of them. I'm great with selling these properties, especially now when the real estate market is high. My question is, why only this one? When we have a pretty long list of city properties that, should we put them out there? Well, let me reiterate, Mr. Edge has confirmed that we can't list these with the real estate agent or sell them ourselves. By Kentucky state law, we have to do a sealed bid auction on these, correct, Tom?
That is correct. Traditional methods are not applicable because of the surplus statute KRS 82.083.
And we cannot put any conditions on the sale, can we?
No, we just take the bids as they come in. I mean, we could conditions is I don't want to say conditions wholeheartedly, as there may be some manners by which we could limit use, things of that nature. But it's conditions on the sale of the property. I don't know. It really kind of depends on the condition that you want to put on it but I'd have to look at them one at a time just to see if that might be possible.
So for example, if we were to take I'll take that one up on Brooklyn as an example, that the city's taken over for back taxes and foreclosure and it needs to be torn down, we could put that up for sale on the condition that it was demoed.
Correct.
Correct?
Yes, that'd be a good example of a condition that, hey, look, this is an expectation with the property. This is not a rehab. This is going to be demolished with that expectation. And just make the deed. And what we do is we basically sell them essentially a conditional deed saying you have deed to the property conditioned on you demolishing the property, demolishing the structure.
Understood. Thank you.
So that would be one I think we could get around pretty easy, because we would just, instead of selling them the property outright free and clear, we would say, hey, it's a conditional deed. We're selling you the rights to the property subject to you exercising, completing this condition.
Understood. Thank you. And I don't think that applies in this case per se. I don't know of any conditions that we'd need to put on this lot. My question really is, we have dozens of empty lots or abandoned homes and buildings in town that are owned by the city of Dayton. This is the first auction of city-owned property that I've seen in a while. Why only this lot? Why can we start including more of these lots?
Yeah, so Joe, the simple answer to your question is the reason this lot is because someone approached us and wants to buy it. So that's what kicked this into gear. I think what you're alluding to is a project that we need to look at separately in terms of what can we put together in the future as a package or as an incentive to get rid of some of this other property and maybe do more than one at one time. And I'm totally in favor of that. In fact, I got a webinar tomorrow morning or Thursday morning that has a pretty interesting kind of economic idea to some of these vacant lots or vacant structures. So I think that's something we should definitely consider in the future is how do we get rid of these in bigger chunks, and how do we maybe use some leverage to get some use out of them. But the simple answer for this one is someone approached us. What I was going to say, remember that you all are in complete control of this process. We put it out for bid. I was likely going to put on the bid that we would like to know the intended use of the lot for whomever bids on it. If we can, I'll check with City Attorney Edge on that. But remember, you don't have to accept any bid. So if this is something that, voting on it tonight to surplus it does not relinquish the property. You all still have full control over looking at the bids and deciding which bid you want to accept or choosing not to accept any at all.
Understood. Thank you.
And I would just follow up with Mr. Giffen there. Like, for example, that's a good example of one where we can't really condition that. We can ask and say, hey, as part of your bid package, we'd like to know what your intended use is. But, the problem becomes, let's say that we put that on the bid documents. We are really kind of limited on the how we can get that kind of information into a deed or limit a deed to intended use. So if they change their mind, they'd still be buying free and clear. And, we had to allow that kind of leverage. So it's that's a little bit, some of what you can include in gathering information to determine whether which bids you want to accept. It kind of runs by a little bit different rules as to what kind of contingencies you can put into a deed as part of a sale.
So Just
a little more subtle, but you know.
just to confirm, if we put this out for bid and the highest, we do not have to accept the highest bid or any bid, depending on what their intended use is, correct?
You don't have to, you can choose to not accept any
You
bids
lost
for
Mr.
any
Cormack.
particular.
I believe we did.
Tom,
Back to her, can we hold conversation till she comes back?
Sure. Mr. Volter dropped off too.
Tom,
Mr. Burns, can we wait for the other two council members to come back?
sure,
Or,
that's fine.
thank you.
I saw Jeff coming back.
Jenny, come here.
There he is.
Was that my connection or someone else's?
We lost
Both you
Tammy
and
too.
Tammy.
Okay.
And Tammy's up north, so who knows what their internet connection's like.
Let me text her. Link.
And Mr. Mayor, if, enough time passes and you want to go ahead and proceed with the meeting, you may. It's just, you'll just want Ms. Ledger to note for the official minutes of the city that, Ms. Cornett lost the connection and became unavailable and was not present for this portion of the meeting until she gets back.
I appreciate it, Tom. I just want to make sure that she has a voice that is heard.
As long as we have a quorum, correct, Tom?
Correct. We lose enough people, then it becomes a different scenario.
So don't go anywhere, Bill.
Did everybody lose connection for a while or not?
No, just you, buddy.
Just us? Tammy and I?
Yep.
Huh.
Can anybody connect with Tammy on phone?
I just texted her and then I told her I resent the link to her email. Haven't heard back either one.
We'll give her a minute or two, and then we'll get back to conversation. Give her a call.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
We'll give her one more call.
She just texted me and said she lost connection, but I don't know what else that means.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
If she can receive text, can she vote via text?
No.
Thank you, Attorney. Should we continue the conversation?
Okay, can I ask Tom a question then?
I'm asking Tom, can we continue the conversation?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, Ms. Liger, just let the minutes reflect Ms. Cornett's absence.
Okay. I will.
I believe Mr. Neri was in the middle of a question. Mr. Burns, it'd probably be proper to let him finish his
That's
question
fine.
and I'd
That's
be happy
fine.
to answer.
That's
you.
fine.
Yeah, my concern really in this particular case is the neighboring properties. I mean, this is a 25-foot wide lot by 250 feet. I want to make sure that if these bids come back, no matter how much money it is, if the council at that time can say, what are you going to do with the property, and reject that bid legally. That's one point I want.
Sure. Hey, as long as he asks for it in the bid documents, then once you look at the bids, if that's not what you're looking for the sale of the property, then that's fine. Like,
Okay.
you have no responsibility to accept any of the bids,
Okay.
it's just, but before we can get to that bid process, we have to declare it a surplus is the
Understood.
problem.
I would like to make that a condition of the bid, that we know what the intended purpose is on this particular property. And moving forward, Michael, to our discussion earlier there, I think it would be wise to accumulate a list of all the city-owned properties, even the city building, not that we're going to sell it or anything, but just to get everybody on council, both this council and the next council, on board with exactly what properties the city owns, and maybe come up with some ideas on what to do with them or how to dispose of them.
Yeah,
That's
we've
all.
got that. I think I've sent it out before but this was probably prior council. So yeah, we'll be happy to send that out. We have that list.
That'd be
Most
great.
of them are vacant. Most of them are vacant lots, aside from one or two burnouts. But even then, I think we maybe only have one of those. So they are mostly vacant lots. It has been a challenge, but let's put our heads together and see what we can figure out.
That'd be great.
Isn't
Thank
that
you.
lot an R1 JJ zone? I mean, doesn't that kind of handcuff what the purchaser can do with that lot?
It does, to within the extent of the zoning ordinance, and it just depends on the details that someone gives you. But whenever they give you into specific detail, you get into specific details, there may be some variability that they can have within the lot. We wouldn't be able to handcuff them to that, but they would still, no matter what they did with the lot, they'd still have to comply with the zoning ordinance.
Right. Okay.
So it's one of those, what are you going to do with it? Yes, I'm going to build a house. Obviously, that's got to be the answer for everyone if they're going to build something on it.
Hypothetically, could it turn into a thoroughfare?
Well, you guys would have to approve that first. And then Mr. Burns had a question.
Yeah, I got a question for you, Tom. Since you said we can't put specifics, one of the questions I have, because I know where this lot's at, and I got thanks, Joe, before the meeting, but can we put a minimum amount that they can purchase this for?
There's not $5. It's
So
I just don't want to give this lot away because as Scott just says, we all know what it's going to be. We're dancing around this issue. We know what it's going to be. And just to give it away for $500 is not right to the rest of the people down there.
I
No,
agree.
you don't have to
that's
accept the bid.
right, just don't accept it.
Yeah,
We don't have to, if it's $500, we don't have to accept it if we don't like it.
That's why I'm saying you put a minimum on it.
But isn't that up to administration's agreement?
I think we could probably put a minimum on it. I don't know. We just have to disclose it in the bid.
I
And
think you
also,
can put,
go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't know why we
It
would
would-
wanna- I'm sorry.
Welcome back, Tammy.
I don't
it
know
would
why
be, as to the bid document, that goes to the administration. They'll figure out exactly what that is, but I'm sure they'll take input from council. But as to a minimum amount, I think the bid documents could suggest that, it's unlikely that, I don't think you can say with absolute surety, but I'm pretty sure you could probably suggest that in the bid documents. So, it's expected that, no bid under this amount is going to be accepted, things of that nature. You could basically condition it without absolute certainty. So that way you're not tied to it. Should you have someone come with a project and a package, and maybe you do want to move off that number.
Thanks, Tom. And one other thing, that lot down there presently has gravel on it. Could we put on in the bid document that they have to remove that?
Won't have to worry about that one, Councilmember Burns. Unfortunately, the city code enforcement says you can't have gravel driveways, and then if they're going to start building on it, they're going to have to get that gravel out of the way to a certain extent anyway. So it's going to kind of solve itself.
Yeah, we currently have a contract, I believe, with the developer of the Gateway Flats for that road, and it's part of that contract that when they're complete with it, they have to remove the gravel. So I'm pretty confident that's part of the contract without having it in front of me right now.
So with that said, Michael, if they have to remove the gravel, and I'm assuming they're going to put a thoroughfare through there, as Scott just said, will there be some specifics how they have to put that thoroughfare through there?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on that. If the developer wants to bid on it and that's his intention, then it would be up to you all to consider the bid and the intention. But whatever anybody does on that lot, it needs to meet the zoning regulations.
So moving forward, I mean, the motion's been made and seconded. My last input on it is I would like to have added there that included with their bid is their intended purpose for that lot. And Tom, if they put down that they're going to put a house there, I mean, we've got setback issues and everything else, but if they were to say that they're going to put a house there, it would have to come back before council to change that down the road, correct?
Not to change that they put a house, or are you talking, not whenever they put what their intention is in just the bid documents?
I mean, can we hold them to that? Can we hold them to that?
No, that's where you get into the conditions where you can't, that you have a harder time holding them to that.
All right. I think as long as we know the intended use or at least stated use at the time of the bid, council can decide whether or not to accept that bid based on that also, not just the money.
And you got to understand, especially if it's going to be a house there, they're going to have to go to planning because they're going to need setbacks and variances around just because of the way those row lots are.
Right. Understood. Thank you.
My last question is, I guess it'd be you, Mike. Well, I don't know, Tom, since we're possibly selling this lot, will both people adjacent to this empty lot be told of our intentions?
I actually put that on my notes here, Bill, to reach out to them and let them know, because I've always wanted a bigger wiffle ball lot in my house,
right.
And I bet they do too. So okay. I'll gladly walk down there and knock on their door and let them know that this is up for bid, because it's important. It's really important, Bill, and you're right about this, to let them know what's going to happen in their next door. So whether or not it's intended to be or not, I will go down there and personally reach out to them and let them know, hey, this is up for bid, and you have an opportunity to make a bigger wiffle ball lot.
Very good.
And to be fair, Mr. Burns, that's out of the mayor's courtesy, not out of any kind of legal requirement.
Okay, very good.
That's what I would want, and that's what you would want, and that's how we operate. Do we have any more comments about number 2020, number 12 Romeo? Going once, twice. and we're gonna go ahead and close that. So we've already had a motion and a second. The comments have been closed. Can I have a roll call, please, Donna?
Member Burns,
Aye.
Member Lynn,
Aye.
Member Volter,
Aye.
Member Neary,
Aye.
Member Baszler,
Aye.
Member Cornett.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Unanimous. Moving along to order number 2020, number 13, Romeo. Authorizing the filing of a Cronus Relief Fund. Ms. Ledger?
City of Dayton, Kentucky, Resolution 2020-13R. Adoption of a resolution of the Dayton City Council authorizing the filing of a Coronavirus Relief Fund, CRF. Application for reimbursement of incurred expenses in CRF funds with the Department for Local Government. Authorizing, directing the mayor to execute any documents which are deemed necessary by DLG to reimburse the city, and authorizing the mayor to act as the authorized correspondent for reimbursement.
Thank you, Ms. Ledger. Do I have a motion to accept number 2020, number 13, Romeo?
I'll make that motion, sir.
Motion been made by member Neary. Do I have a
I'll second
second? Who was that second?
Whoever. I'll do it.
Member Baszler, all right. Open for comments, please.
I just have a,
Nope,
go ahead.
I'll just clarify for everybody kind of what this is. It was thrown on last Friday. So we have already received our allotted CARES Money Act funds from the Department of Local Government, but we have been told, and nothing has been really stated official yet, but we've been told that there may be more funding available. So the purpose of this order is to just make sure we have everything in line should those funds open up. So it's more of just trying to get out in front of it, but no guarantees type of a deal. So when I know more, I'll let you all know. Right now, we're just trying to get our ducks in a row in case the rumors are true.
Michael, clarification, you said we did get our check from the last resolution we did, right?
Correct, sir.
Where is this money coming from? This new resolution?
Well, it would come from the same CARES Act that was passed by Congress earlier this year. The money would just be money that's left over that wasn't spent or allocated by the state of Kentucky. Like I said, we've been told that there is some money left over and that they may be letting that out to the cities. But it's very unofficial and chaotic right now. There's a lot of different dates that have been thrown out. I don't really know what's going on, but I want to make sure that we've got the formalities taken care of. Should it open soon, I can act quick.
So what you're saying is you want to get the resolution passed. You don't have the monies gathered, the information together yet, but this is step one.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have a motion by member Neary and a second by member Baszler. Do we have any other comments? I'm going to make a comment, and I want to give kudos to Michael on putting Dayton first and getting us out there and making sure that we have availability for these funds. Thank you, Michael, for your hard work on this. There's multiple hundreds of cities in the state of Kentucky that are trying to get these funds, and putting this on our council tonight is important. So thank you, Michael.
My pleasure.
So any other comments? Gone. Member roll call, please, Ms. Ledger.
Member Lynn,
Aye.
Volter,
Aye.
Member Neary,
Aye.
Member Baszler,
Aye.
Member Cornett,
Aye.
and Member Burns.
Aye.
100%. Appreciate that. So we are finished with the ordinances orders for the month. We would now like to move along to the city administrator's report, Mr. Giffen.
Thank you, Mayor. First thing I'm going to try to do, can you all see the flag? Or you see my face?
Now we see the flag.
Okay. This was what the mayor had alluded to earlier. Not the best resolution picture, but just so you all get an idea of the flag design. There she is.
So that's the new flag that's been produced by Mr. Dew. The top represents the river, the bottom represents our hills, and so is the squiggly line in the middle.
Who made it? I'm sorry.
Mr. Dew, he's a Dayton resident, graphic designer. We asked a couple people to do a couple different designs, and this seemed to be very simple, which simple is always good in flag design, and also representative of the city.
Is it going to say Dayton, Kentucky?
No, sir. Just as the United States flag does not say US of A.
But the Commonwealth of Kentucky's flag does.
All right, well, we can argue flag design all you want.
All right, back to the fun stuff.
Uh,
I've got quite a few things to go over. After each one, I'll open it up for questions because some of these are important. So first things first, we received 2 cruiser bids. We had 3 cruisers out for bid. We had one bidder bid on all 3, and he bid $551.51 for all 3 vehicles. And then the second bidder just bid on the 2008 Crown Vic number 212, and he bid $1,000. So my recommendation to council is to accept the bid of Randy Kroppenbaker for the 2009 Crown Vic number 207, the 2008 Crown Vic K9 car for $551.51, and accept Brandon Skirvin's bid for the 2008 Crown Vic number 212 for $1,000. I have talked to the bidders, really the first bidder, to make sure that they still would want 2 of the 3 cars, and they said yes. So my recommendation would be to sell those as presented. And I would need a motion to do so.
I'll make that motion.
Motion has been made by member Cornett. Do I have a second to accept these bids?
Second.
Second by member Volter. Any comments concerning the bids of these cruisers?
Is this all of the excess cruisers?
Yes.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? You guys have it.
Thank you. Second item is just kind of just an update for you all in terms of what's going on the fire department end in terms of something they're looking into, and then also something to keep in mind as we head into 2021 and the budget season. In terms of an ambulance, Chief Atkins and per, I think the fire board, they're going to go out and seek bids for a new ambulance. And by that, they are going to look at specs for a brand new ambulance or a remount of a current body ambulance on a new chassis system, which would be a little bit more cost effective. But they're going to go out and see what the prices come back for both. At that point, I'm assuming they'll bring it to the fire board for discussion. And then obviously the fire board and our council members on the fire board can have a discussion with the administration and the rest of council as we head into the budget season. So really just an update, but I'd be happy to answer any questions about that. But Joe and Jeff might even know a little bit more than I do, since they were a part of those initial conversations.
Michael, how old was the ambulance we have now?
I'm
8
not
years
sure.
old. 8 years old.
Is it 8? Very good.
Yes.
And it's getting to the point with repairs where the repairs are outpacing what any payment would be.
But I just wanted some clarification for me, because you need to start planning 8 years from now for a new one too.
Right.
If you're doing one now, I'm looking at 8 years down the road for the next council personnel.
We have earmarked what we think would be our share for a new or remounted ambulance. I have kept track of that money in terms of money that we've earmarked every year on top of what we've paid out in loan payments for other equipment there. It's just in the general fund. It's not in any sort of special fund. So when you see our general fund balance, it's reflected in there. But I have earmarked it, so I have an idea of what we have coming to it. So it's allocated, but I wish it was in a separate fund. But I know where it is, and it's just in with everything else. But we do have it earmarked essentially for this purpose. Yeah.
Very good.
Any other questions on that? All right, I want to touch on our two big grants, the Riverfront Commons grant and our Safe Routes to School grant. First of all, we've included a new tab on the website under what's happening and special projects, where I have both of these grants listed out, showing pictures of their progress, pictures of the plans. And then under each one, I've got an updated chart that shows you what stage of the process it's in and kind of what checklist item we're at in that process. So for the council and anybody in the public, if you're curious what's going on, you can check the website for updates on that. But to dive a little bit more into it, the Safe Routes to School grant, we received some good news late last week. We have received the encroachment permit from KYTC. So we're just waiting on the final document that will allow us to bid that project out. Speaking with Bob this morning and Friday, he's been hammering away at KYTC trying to get an answer on when that document will be coming, but we're hoping it's soon. So all indications point to us being able to bid this project out this winter. Any questions on that? I know Bob's on, so if there's something I can't answer, he can chime in too. Nope. And then our second big one, the Riverfront Commons Phase 2. We have run into a few issues there in the last week or so. We're still waiting on the state to approve the environmental documents. I talked with KZF on Friday. They're pushing pretty hard on that. But we've run into another issue now that the Tapestry lot is platted. There's some right-of-way issues, but luckily it's not with any of the path right-of-way. It's with some of the areas that we would need for construction grading. So I talked to KZF on Friday about our options. One of them would include having to acquire a temporary construction easement. I don't really want to do that because we can't use our city attorney. We'd have to go through a third party, and it would just take more time. So what we agreed to do is we're going to look into just adjusting the grading plans to kind of shy away from that area. Worst case scenario, we can move the trail slightly. I mean, we're just talking a few feet, so that would be the second best option. But we're hoping just moving the grading plans and shifting some of the grading plans will solve that. All indications point to us still being able to bid this out late this winter for construction next year. So hopefully it won't impact too much there. Any questions on the Riverfront Commons grant section? Nope. Okay. Moving on to Manhattan Harbor Development Agreement. So we all remember Mark Stark's visit last month. We talked to him about updating the developers agreement to include in a date that would set the completion date for the Berry Avenue connection. I met with him a couple times and spoke with him several times on the phone. I'd sent him over a draft that indicated just that. It amended the development agreement to state that he had until December 31st, 2021 to finish the road. He has come back and said he is not willing to sign that. He said it's a goal of his. He's going to work hard to complete it, but he's not willing to put himself into a liability of having to finish that legally. We have a couple options. What he's asked us to do is to pump the brakes for a month or two, let him see what his construction landscape looks like come winter time, see what kind of projects and jobs he can get. He said if things look better on that end, he would be willing to possibly commit to a December 31st, 2022 date to complete. Or we have a second option, which I think is worth looking into. This is something that he and I talked about, and I wanted to deliver it to you all tonight to get your input. In order to speed it up, we could get the plans from Cardinal Engineering, and we could bid the project out ourselves. So in order to do that, I would just get the construction plans from Mark and Cardinal Engineering. We could kind of go through the last bits of this process of vetting the documents through the Corps of Engineers, through the utility companies, and put the project out for bid ourselves. In order to do this, we would need to secure a loan or a bond to do so, but we could then work a deal with Mark out to use the TIF funds that he gets every year in order to pay for those costs. So we wouldn't be out any money if we were to go this route, and it could potentially speed up the project. Currently, they are getting about $120,000 per year on the TIF check for our TIF check every year, and that number is going to be going up. So what I would do is I would make sure that any sort of whatever the bids came back at and whatever loan we went out and got, I would make sure that it obviously the payment is at or below that level so that the city is not out any money. So the pros of that, obviously we take control of that project pending any issues that we run into with the utility companies over the Army Corps of Engineers. We could likely get that project rolling next year. It wouldn't cost us any money. The only negative downside to that is it would cost more money, obviously, for us to bid out the project to a third party versus Stark doing it. But again, we're basically going to use the TIF money to cover it, so we really still would be out that money. The only other con that I could think of is it would impact the schedule that we have for being paid out for a new city building. If that is still a talking point or priority down the road, it's something we would need to navigate. Right or wrong, good or bad, just wanted to lay it out there. My recommendation at this point would be to strongly consider looking at taking that project over ourselves. And the reason for that recommendation is I don't think we're really out anything to explore that option. It's going to take a couple months for me to get the plans, to vet them, to talk to the utility companies, to talk to the Army Corps of Engineers, to make sure that we have all the ducks in a row to even put the project out for bid. That buys the couple months that Stark was looking for. We have a couple new council members coming in a couple months. So by January and February, 2 new council members who have gotten settled in. Stark may have a better idea of where his projects are at. And 2, we could maybe have all these bidding documents and plans lined up. So come February, you all can decide as a council at that point what you all think the best bet is. At that point, you can choose to work out a deal with Stark and amend the development agreement for a December 2022 finish, or you can decide, hey, let's put this thing out for bid. We're not out any money to put it out for bid. Let's see what comes back in terms of costs. Let's see what comes back in terms of how long it will take, who the contractors are. Are they vetted contractors to do the job? So I kind of wanted to lay out kind of where we're at. Not exactly what I expected to bring back to you all this month, but I'm a little encouraged of this second opportunity to maybe take the project over and put it into our own hands. So it's a lot of information I just threw out at you. Be happy to kind of digest it with you and answer any questions you all might have.
Michael, isn't there a permit fee or something that when he was talking about at the council meeting, he had to get some kind of permit
He
from
would
the
get the
county?
he would get the permit through the county, and we would, since the county acts as our planning and zoning staff, it's just something we would submit to them and work with them on.
Wouldn't cost us money to do it.
It may cost us a little bit just because there is a cost of doing some services with the county, but
Well, this is my opinion. I say we go with the bid on doing it ourselves because I don't trust Mr. Stark. He has not been, I don't think, forthcoming with us on a lot of things. His business down there was supposed to be a temporary situation where he has a tent set up, and it's been at least 10 years. There's still a tent set up. He has a gravel driveway, which no one else has. He's not cleaning the streets as he should do it. If we're ever going to see a Berry Street ramp, I think we need to do it ourselves.
Michael, I think that it doesn't hurt us to pursue the looking at doing it ourselves and looking at all those options. I would definitely want to have a project manager cost built in to that bid. If Cardinal Engineering did the plans, maybe they can provide a project manager, because none of us are capable of looking at that project and making the calls on those things. So I would definitely want that in the bid. It's a good time to borrow money, whether you're going to bond or whether you're going to have a loan. It's next to nothing for the cost of interest. So the cost is down. Plus, the sooner that thing gets in, the more it's going to impact our local businesses on the main street. And it's going to drive more businesses locating on our main street. So I'm in favor of pursuing it ourselves also, at least looking at it.
Good idea.
My question is this: if you do that and Mr. Stark doesn't finish the other part of the roadway, what have you accomplished? Because that roadway down there that stops, that goes on down to his marina, that would give us another ingress and egress.
What it accomplishes, Bill, is access to our central business district and our businesses.
well, yeah, Mark Stark is not going to let the road go unfinished because he has obviously a vested interest in the property that it connects to. But if for some reason he does not complete the road, he is holding a substantial bond on that road. And I don't fully know how that works, but I do know that it would allow the city to, if for some reason he walked away, which he's not, would allow us to finish the road.
With the TIF money from that bond?
No, this is a separate developer's bond that he's got on the road system.
Okay. And
I
he's willing.
I understand what Jeff's saying, and I agree in part. But I want everybody to realize when this agreement was wrote up by Mr. Rankle and Mr. Redmond, there was no specifics. Now all of a sudden you're wanting to put specifics in. And if I was Mr. Stark, I would say, I ain't gonna do nothing. I'll finish it when I want to.
Well, I mean, he can certainly take that stance. And I think Mr. Edge brought it up at the last meeting. You know, they didn't write specifics into it because at that point, this was, 10, 12 years ago. They weren't going to hold, they didn't expect to hold the developer to anything at that point until they got certain things off the ground. It was meant to be an evolving document, hence some of the language changing we did for the city building. And hence now, obviously, there's a vested reason for us to come to the table and say it's time for you to do X, Y, Z. In this case, X, Y, Z being the Berry Avenue ramp. But he's not willing to put really a date on it because of so many unknowns, at least for next year. He did say, as I'll mention one more time, that when we have everything, if we start to get everything in order to bid it out, which I think is a good idea, you'll also have the opportunity to look at everything on the table at that point. At that point, Mark may commit to a date and you all may be fine just saying, fine, we'll let him do it as long as it's by, whatever date we can come to some sort of agreement on, or we can choose to take it on ourselves. This way it gives us options. You don't have to commit. I'm not asking you to commit to anything today. I just was kind of looking for a general consensus that if I'm going to go get the plans and start taking it to planning and zoning, I want to make sure that, I'm not wasting my time doing so. Ultimately, you don't have to decide to bid it out right now. We can wait till that hour comes after the first of the year, and we'll see where Mark's at that point, and we'll try to give you all as many options as possible.
I'm tired of waiting.
Get ready to sell his house then.
What would our cost be beside man hours of proceeding to the point where we decide whether or not to do it ourselves and put it out for bid?
There's really no cost. I mean, any of the small costs I think can be recouped, but you're talking man hours. There may be some permitting fees. The county either may be willing to waive those, or we can just work it into the reimbursement. You're talking about some advertising fees and maybe some small fees working with Cardinal Engineering to make sure we put together. This is not just me putting together a bid document. This needs to be done by somebody with more expertise in engineering than myself. So maybe some minimal fees working with Cardinal putting together the bid document. But again, I think everything that any costs we incur outside of man hours, I think we can justify lumping back in. And as Jeff alluded to, a project manager cost and putting that into the bond. And I think, I think you're looking at anywhere from $500,000 to $750,000 for the project. We could do a bond for that in 5 years and be done with it.
Well, here's the problem with that. I understand what you're saying. To get to the point where we put it out to bid and get the bids back to find out if it's 200,000 or 1.2 million. To get to that point where we know how much it is probably going to take about 6 months, correct?
No, I don't think so. The only thing that I foresee that would cause delay, I don't think it has anything to do with the permitting with the county. I don't think it has anything to do with getting the financing in line. The two biggest challenges I see are we would have to amend something with the local TIF agreement to reflect that we're making a change, that we're going to collect the funds and why. But I think we have a great justification for that. The only other thing that scares me a little bit is just dealing with the Army Corps of Engineers. And I'm not scared in that they're going to say no. It's just the responsiveness and the timeliness of just simple things getting dragged out. But that's something that I would want to get started on, this week, pending that I got the consensus from you all that it's something you all wanted to look into.
Michael, didn't Stark say that the Army Corps has already approved his plans?
He has alluded to that. So I would just want to get with the people that he's talked to and Cardinal's talked to just to verify that. But that, we've built on the flood wall before. The road at the beginning of Manhattan Harbor is an example of that. This is a little bit different. And I think the weighting of it is going to be something they either have already taken a look at or are going to want to. I haven't talked to those people, so I don't know. That's why it just concerns me, because it's an unknown to me at this time.
We have to do another agreement with Stark then, like a legal agreement that he's waiving those TIF fees back to us.
Yeah, we would have to put something like that together. But based on my conversation with him last week, he would be in favor of that.
I would be in favor of moving forward with the 2022 date. Okay, if we have to amend the agreement to get that in writing, that it's done by the end of 2022. At least we have some firm date in hand, which is what we were looking for. Later than what I hoped, and if we were to start proceeding with this process all the way through bid, as long as it's not going to cost us a lot of money, then we have that option to do that. But if we were to build it, if we were to say, we're not going to wait for him, we can take the bond and everything else, legally, can we take that money out of the TIF repayment? Because he's already on the hook, the developer, not the individual. The developer group is on the hook to put that ramp in at some time. Legally, can we do that, Tom?
Yes, actually, and we've already done it with Mr. Imboden before Mr. Stark's involvement. We've actually had that play on a couple minor issues that we had down there in the development agreement where the city needed to recoup some funds that were owed to it by Mr. Imboden. So we've had to exercise that before, but yes, as long as we have it in writing, we're in good shape.
I say move forward with it until you got to come back and ask us for the money. The other issue that we're running into, I mean, Bill, you're concerned, I understand, about the road at the far east end. But if I lived down there, even at the far east end of Tapestry, I wouldn't go all the way around there and down 4th Street. Everybody's going out O'Fallon, 5th and O'Fallon right now. We've had a traffic situation down there for 5 years, and it's only getting worse. The ramp obviously is going to help alleviate that. I think we need to take that action, start moving in that direction, get the bids, get all the way to the bid process, and let council decide whether or not to spend the money.
I agree.
And that way we know how much it's going to cost Mr. Stark if we decide not to do it.
I agree. Let's proceed with both options.
Okay, great. I will, we'll start get going on that, and not likely going to have much for you by the December 1st, but after the first of the year, we'll should have a better idea of hopefully few, if any, roadblocks to jump over, but I'll get going on that. So I appreciate it. Yeah. Any other questions on that topic?
Get her done.
Hold on one second. I gotta put my kid's lid on his drink.
Good dad, good dad.
The last item I've got is a discussion regarding communication between departments and reports needed. So given that we might be doing our next several meetings virtually, I'll work with the mayor on how that'll go in terms of department heads involvement, but I'll make sure we alluded to you all meeting Cassie. I'll make sure to continue to work with Cassie and Rick and some of the others to make sure that you're getting a monthly report from them to keep communication going. And then we'll just kind of take these meetings month by month. And if we need to bring some of them on for certain reasons, to talk about an ambulance or to talk about something important, we certainly can. I'd be happy to answer any questions you all have regarding this topic. And if that's not what was the answer you all were looking for, I'd be happy to answer your questions or discuss something further.
Well, is this the topic where I asked it to be added to the agenda?
Yes,
ma'am.
Okay. So what I'd like to see is some more communication between the departments. And I don't look at this as a bad thing. Everybody makes mistakes and mistakes happen, but I really think that there needs to be more coordination between the fire department and code enforcement and police department and code enforcement. One of the reasons is that there was a fire at a property and the next day they got written up by code enforcement. And she didn't know, and that's okay. But I think it looks bad for us to be doing something like this. And I think if we were communicating with the departments, it would help a lot. The police department, looking at the list of houses that are, what is it called?
nuisance.
Nuisance
Fire.
houses.
Houston?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few that should be on that list that are not. I can name 3 right off the bat. One where I've called myself at least 10 times in the last year. 2 other ones that everybody knows calls get there every month, and they should be on this list, and they're not. I think if I looked really around the city, it should be a lot more. So I just think more communication needs to be between the police, the fire, and code enforcement. And I know for one of the houses that I'm talking about in particular, I know it was on the list because I heard the landlord carrying on about it, but it's not technically on the list that I received.
I believe, Member Cornett, in the last couple of weeks, and due to your questioning, Cassie Patterson, the code enforcement agent for the city, has been working closer with both organizations, the fire department as well as the police department, and getting those reports to her on a monthly basis. So I think we're going to see some better communication. I think we all agree that if there's a fire at your house, a piece of property that you own, the next day you shouldn't have a code enforcement issue. So we're trying to meld those departments together. It's been a problem in the past, and it's recently being addressed. So appreciate you bringing that to us. But I mean, look at the issue that happened down on 4th Avenue this weekend.
Mhm.
You know, we're so fortunate to have nobody really tragically hurt in that. But to follow up with a code enforcement thing is not anything we would ever want to do. So we're dealing with some new departments and making sure that they all communicate effectively together.
Right, and I understand that. I understand that she's new, but some of these houses that I'm talking about that should be on the nuisance list are not new. They're not.
Agreed.
So, and the other thing that I would like to see, I knew nothing about the dog signs that have been put in all the parks with the bags for cleanup, pickup. Knew nothing about trees going in. We knew nothing about the water garden up on Dayton Pike. We need to see minutes from all of the boards. I've never seen, since I've been on council, I've never seen a park board minute ever. And we can't like hype these things up, and we can't tell the community about them and all the good things that are going on behind the scenes if we don't know anything about it.
Fair enough. Mr. Yoder, I'll ask you to help us with making sure that all board members minutes are available, not only to council members, but on our website to public, because they should be communicated effectively.
That's all I have.
To Mrs. Cornett's point,
Yeah.
I know everybody's, especially with COVID, has been a big interruption to everybody's regular schedule, including our boards. And I'm fine with our boards and our council meeting virtually. Are our board meetings being held virtually? And if so, are they being broadcast like this is for the public?
The past, that's a great question, Joe. Some of them have not been meeting as regularly as they have in the past. Park board meetings have been meeting pretty regularly because they're outside. Everyone's, I would say, even 10-foot distance between each other. Last week, the Civic Club had a meeting to discuss Light Up Dayton that was virtual on Zoom. And that was broadcast on, I believe, YouTube, the same as tonight. So we're trying to make those meetings as public as possible and as socially distanced as possible.
Yeah, one of the problems is that we run into is we can't put out, I mean, we can post this video even live or archived, but the minutes for the meetings, our meetings and the board meetings, are not official until the following meeting when they get approved, so we can't post them online. A lot of people want to know what's going on, sometimes ourselves included. I think if after a meeting of any of the boards, if some type of a recap could be put on our city website, and if there is a video, a link to that video. It's great that people want to know what's going on, and I think we need to take advantage of that. And I applaud the boards that have stuck with everything. The challenges this year have been amazing, but I think we better plan on maybe the next 4 to 6 months being the same way, and I'd hate for all communication to stop because of it. That's all.
That's fair. And the city wants everybody to be able to understand what's going on. We certainly want everybody's involvement and understanding.
Mayor, that's all I have for my updates. If we don't have anything else on that topic.
Thank you, Mr. Giffen. Appreciate that. Any other comments to Mr. Giffen on his administrative report? We will then move along to the city attorney's report. Mr. Edge.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council. I provided to you by email a list of properties that are delinquent on tax bills and a couple dilapidated properties that we're ready to proceed with for foreclosure at this point. I'd ask for a motion, consideration, and approval of said list.
The city attorney, Mr. Edge, has asked for a motion to approve the foreclosure list that was provided to you guys via email. Do I have a motion to approve that list?
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Motion
second
made
it.
by member Cornett and a second by member Lynn. Do we have any comments regarding the properties that are up for foreclosure?
Tom, I got a question for you. Why would we let something go 9 years?
And Councilmember Burns, that's a good question. This property on 10th Avenue is basically a vacant double lot. And because of the low tax value and the low tax value each year, they let it build up for several years. But at this point, it's gotten to the point where if it gets to 11, we start to lose tax years because of the statute of limitations. So it's kind of now, or it could actually cost us money if we don't move on it here next year.
So do we normally go like, let it go 3 years or something like that?
Correct. Standard practice is for the city of Dayton and most municipalities is 3 years for just tax delinquency, and then 2 years if it's got code fines on top of it too. But we can go anytime after it's 1 year delinquent. Once it's delinquent, we can actually file it anytime after that. But we usually like to let it build up a little bit because there's a significant amount of cost involved to the city to get these done.
Which loses my last question, Tom. On the previous lot we're going to put out for bid, I'm looking at a PVA value on all of these. Could we put in that bid what the PVA value is on that empty lot?
There wouldn't be any problem mentioning that. And I'm sure that, PVA value is just the taxable value.
Right.
Now, as to its real value, it's whatever you guys accept as a bid for it is what it's worth, what someone will pay you for it, right?
Right. Okay, thank you.
Does approving this list tonight include all the properties on that list, including the 3 or 4 at the bottom of the list?
The 3 or 4 at the bottom of the list, Councilmember Neary, are foreclosures that are already open. We've already filed a response of pleadings in them. So those are, we're a party to them because they owe the city taxes or code enforcement fines, but we're not controlling the ship on that. We're just along for the ride.
Thanks for that explanation, sir.
Do we have any other comments to Mr. Edge regarding his foreclosure list? We have a motion and a second. Do I have a roll call, please, Donna?
Yes. Member Volter,
Aye.
Member Neary,
Aye.
Member Baszler,
Nay.
Member Cornett,
Aye.
Member Burns,
Aye.
Member Lynn.
Aye.
The ayes have it 5-1. Before we go to adjournment, and I know that's everyone's favorite part of the agenda, I do want to say 2 quick things. First of all, I really appreciate everybody doing virtual meetings. The COVID spike has been crazy, and we're just trying to do what's best. So appreciate y'all doing these weird virtual meetings. Second of all, I think as a council and as a city, we want to congratulate Ms. Cornett on the birth of her granddaughter. So congratulations, Ms. Cornett. I hope you are enjoying your time with your family, and welcome to the family. So with that behind us, do I have a motion for adjournment?
Mayor, can I ask one question to make this council, make this meeting official? Was there any citizen input or questions asked?
Member Giffen, please.
Good call, Bill. I did not receive any submissions for questions or comments.
Very good.
I do have one petition from a citizen regarding the Fifth and O'Fallon intersection with some ideas for how we can make that a little bit safer. But I will address that with administration privately.
So we have a Fifth and O'Fallon traffic issue. Anything else from the citizens that anyone's had heard over the last month? Once, twice. So do I have a motion for adjournment?
So move.
Mr. Volter, second?
I'll second.
Ladies first, we know that, Joe. Ms. Cornett had it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions?